Why do you want to run for mayor again?
People are struggling in the city, whether it is economic hardship or isolation, racial injustice, the challenges of remote learning. Times are really hard, and it is made only harder because of a lack of city leadership. And I think there's a sense that people want to be proud of this city, but that is hard right now. And I think there's also this sense that we believe we can rise up to the challenges of poverty and injustice and and all the things that have brought because of COVID, but we need leadership. And I want to be mayor to really promote a vision of a Seattle that is just and a place of shared prosperity, and then wake up every day and implement that vision.
There are a lot of people in this town who say it is a thankless job right now.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you be attracted to something that people call a thankless job?
Well, in a time of crisis, that is the time to step up. I mean, again, I believe that people want to be able to answer to the response of, answer to that call around, can we turn anger into energy and momentum? And the time absolutely is to step up. We all need to be stepping up.
What's the biggest issue?
Well, there are a lot of big issues. It's hard to name off one, but I think you can really boil down our city's issues into two things. Do we want to be a city that people want to live in? And can we be a city that people can afford to live in? And so that really means digging deep into those issues around delivering basic city services, but also wrestling with the really tough, big obstacles like housing affordability, homelessness, public safety, climate change.
Yeah, there's a few issues that are kind of almost tied together at this point just because of what's happened over the last year, and that's homelessness, it's policing, it's economic recovery. So if I was to go at you with a question on each of those, I mean, how do you bring Seattle's economy back?
So there are a bunch of different things that you need to do, but I would argue that if we want to really get to that place where we are a place of true shared prosperity, one of the core pieces of that is affordability. And people are struggling because their costs are too high, whether it's housing costs or childcare costs. And one of the things that we can do to leapfrog over our peer cities that are our competitors, particularly around tech jobs and other kinds of jobs, is really figure out that housing affordability issue and the childcare affordability issue. It not only becomes something that is good for the people in our city, but it also becomes our competitive edge.
Housing is just one part of the discussion around homelessness. There are a fair amount of people in this town who have watched it over the last year because of COVID kind of get exacerbated. There's tents everywhere. A lot of people think that's tied into the recovery for Seattle if there is this amount of encampments in the streets. What do you do to change the discussion with homelessness?
Well, I think we need our leaders to be truth tellers about this and to really be clear. Number one, there are a lot of societal issues that have led to the homelessness crisis, whether it's the opioid crisis or the criminal legal system or the lack of affordable housing. But we also have to be honest that this is not an issue of parks versus sweeps, which is the way it's been framed. Sweeps are not the answer, but it is also true that our parks need to work. If we're going to ask people to live together in a city, in a dense city on top of each other, our city parks have to be functional places that people of all ages and abilities can go to. And then the final thing that I think leaders really need to tell the truth about is that we're going to have to do interim solutions, and we also have to scale the long-term solutions to the size of the problem. And that means a lot more permanent supportive housing for folks.
Yeah, but how do you build that? How do you build permanent supportive housing, affordable housing at the same time when tents are continuing and camps are continuing to grow?
And that part, again, is where we need leaders who are willing to be honest. The interim solutions and the long-term solutions are related but not exactly the same. And one of the things we've learned during COVID is that there are actually things that we can do that are really successful and need to scale up. So one thing is being able to go be in a hotel room for a long period, for a period of time. Being able to have programs like First One that is provided by the Seattle Fire Department that really helps folks who are struggling with mental and behavioral health issues. That's a program that works, and we need to scale that up. And that's part of the thing that we need to be able to tell the truth about. There are things that are working, and we need to really lean in and invest in those.
And then as far as policing, we're doing a story today, and it's been discussed over the last week about the police department is at a staffing crisis, according to the chief. There's a lot of people who are okay with that they would like to see the amount of police officers kind of dialed down. Where do you stand with the police department and the reimagining of the police department?
Yeah, I mean, we should really talk honestly about that too. And what is animating the calls for defunding? Like, let's be very clear about what that is. That is because there are members of our community who don't feel safe going about their day-to-day activities. And we should be really clear that every single member in our community, regardless of race, should be able to go about their daily activities and not fear harm. So that's one thing that we have to take very seriously. The second piece, of course, is that public safety means so much more than police officers. It means those economic and cultural and social supports that really allow people to thrive. And we need to invest in those too. And so that means we need to build our budgets in accordance with those two values, that every single person, regardless of race, should feel safe in our community, and that public safety has to mean more than policing. I would add one more thing, though, which is that there are things that are really working that the police department is doing, and we want to preserve those things, whether it is, enforcement and implementation of extreme risk protection orders, taking guns away from really dangerous people. We want to make sure that works. The domestic violence unit, we want to make sure that works. The detective work that's being done, with this spate of catalytic converter, theft, we want those things to work too. So it's really about being clear about what our values are and delivering budgets that match those.
And obviously you think there is a pathway here with the people who have declared thus far, in Lorena Gonzalez, Colleen Echo Hawk, and others. Are you competing for their votes in the primary? How do you think you're different than those two women in particular?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that, first of all, I've been fighting for our community in my entire career. And people are hungry right now for folks who are going to be in leadership with a mindset of solving problems. We've talked about how many problems this city is facing. And I've had that opportunity to solve problems in this community. And it's also time for a fresh start and a fresh set of eyes. And so I think that combination that I bring, again, as a nonprofit leader, as a former legislator, I helped deliver, our groundbreaking paid family leave law, transportation projects. People want both that fresh start, but also that assurance that somebody is going to be able to get things done.